ex-employees who can help you unmask your defendant. It is, now, Doug, I'm going to speak metaphorically. You know what that means, right?
That's a big one.
Here I go. Now I'm going to be metaphoric.
Hold on, Paul. Eels are slippery and quick. See ones around your neck. That eel list. How do you handle that? Wow.
Well, they're also electric, Doug, and they tend to electrify trials. Okay. So these folks, these ex-employees turned whistleblowers, they are, here I go, Doug, I'm going to be metaphoric, okay?
Okay.
They are the concrete steps that lead up to the loading dock of your defendant. They are the passcode to get in the back door. They are a guided tour to the logistics department of your defendant. They are the shuttle over to HR. They might even be the elevator up to the executive suite. These are folks who were inside your defendant when the evil was going down and the rules were being broken and the harmful environments were being created. And they can help you turn that defendant inside out and unmask them. So I'm going to put my my info in the chat. You're going to want to talk to Connor. Connor McDuffie will get you started and get you on the super highway to an ex-employee that can help you change your case.
Paul, did you hire Connor McDuffie just because it's St. Patrick's Day?
Doug, I'll have to tell you that story off screen. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
You bet. You bet.
I will tell you this from actual real case files of Douglas R. Bean, PA. We have used Paul. Paul is fantastic. He comes through, he can get affidavits. And he does it ethically. He does it legally, but he's very creative. And Paul, I appreciate what you do to help our clients. Thank you. And sometimes the so-called lowest level employees can give us what we need, right, Paul?
That's true. We do it in every kind of PI case you can imagine, all the way from a dram shop or a slip and fall case, all the way up to big pharma. We're all over it.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I'm sure everyone's going to be looking for your information in the chat box. I'm also going to email it to everybody at the end of the webinar, okay?
Thanks, Ginger.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
You too.
And I see Kim over there with Onpoint. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you guys are doing great work at Onpoint. You have some amazing members on your staff. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for this wonderful opportunity. We're so excited to be here. Leon, I love your mug, and happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. So to tell you a little bit about us, Onpoint is a legal nurse consulting and expert witness firm. We've been supporting attorneys for 25 years on any cases involving illness and injury. So are you having trouble getting the medical records that you need? Could you use some help tracking which ones have come in, which ones are still outstanding, or identifying missing records? Our record retrieval service can help. It's seamless, convenient, easy to access, and we have a secure portal, hopefully leaving you with more time and less headache. Also, do you find yourself getting bogged down in complex cases and having little time? We do have a lot of experience helping attorneys with medical record review. We do chronologies, timelines, case analysis, which identifies strengths and weaknesses. We can also help with mediation presentations, charts, and graphs, and all of our reports can be customized according to your need. Our other services include, we provide expert witnesses in any specialty needed who are all clinically active and they're located nationwide. We also do life care plans for catastrophic cases. And we do medical cost projections, which is a lower cost option for less complex cases. Our goal is to make sure you're not blindsided, avoid surprises, and simplify the medicine. Overall, hopefully helping you to maximize your case settlement. We think of our competitive advantages as having a reputation in the industry as being the go-to resource for legal support and our proven effectiveness in helping attorneys. We would love to come and do a brief webinar of our services for anyone that's interested. We're easy to work with and accessible, so feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Hey, Kim, question. We have paralegals on here. You deal a lot with the paralegals, correct? If a
Yes.
paralegal wants to call you, Kim, because I got to meet a lot of your people at a Connectionology we did up in Harrisburg,
Yes.
Pennsylvania. Leon Branham was there. We had a great time, didn't we, Leon?
We
It's
did.
great.
I remember we went to Hershey Park.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, it was great. But what if a paralegal wants to call you up and he or she doesn't know exactly, struggling with the case or something like that? What can you do to help a paralegal who's looking to help his or her attorney?
Oh, well, we could do a lot. So if they're not sure what's needed in the case, our nurses are trained. They know what to look for. They know what information to pull out of the records. They might even help a paralegal to determine which records are more important to get first. And then, of course, they can easily help them identify if there's any missing records. So I would like to think we'd be a great support to paralegals.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Kim.
Thanks.
And we're going to switch it up a little bit today. We're going to have Kyle go next with HMR. And Kyle, we're so happy to have you. And I know that you're going to have a special announcement for the end of the webinar where somebody's going to win 4 bags of freshly roasted Peruvian coffee. And this is not just any regular coffee. This coffee is doing a lot of great work as far as charity, but it's delicious coffee and everyone is excited.
Yeah,
So,
no, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, so as many of the viewers know, HMR is a medical funding company. We operate nationally. We work in just over 40 states, and primarily we get involved, when people have been injured but they don't have the medical insurance, or they're underinsured to get the treatment that they need at the time that they need it. So in a lot of cases, we end up getting calls with somebody who's, sustained a traumatic brain injury or a spinal cord injury or a burn. And so we're able to use our resources around the country to get people the treatment that they need. Obviously, a lot of the funding that we do is non-recourse. So we truly do partner with the law firms and are contingent just like them. We do, from time to time, do pre-settlement advances where somebody's out of work or they've had a surgery but can no longer provide for their families. And so we'll jump in to do some small advances like that. It kind of runs hand in hand. I would say for the paralegals who are on today and is our audience, probably one of the best things that we've moved to with our company is doing everything online and making everything electronic. So you can simply go to hmrservicing.com, you can click the button and you can upload, the documents we need to try to approve cases. It's a process that usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes to actually do. And so it's come a long way from when we first started. So these days we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the people who are actually, doing a lot of the logistical work inside of law firms. So we feel that's a good value add for the paralegals out there. So as always, we appreciate the opportunity, and if we can assist in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Question. Paralegals are on the front line. They hear when the clients are struggling financially. If they get that information, how does that work? And we'll talk to Leon about it too. If a paralegal needs, what's non-recourse mean? What does all that mean? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So, if they do an intake and somebody's been injured, but they don't have the health insurance to pay for it, they would simply contact somebody like us, and we can identify providers that are close to where they currently live, depending on the specialty they need. And the non-recourse part of it means, all of the funding we provide, we're paying these providers up front. so that people can get treatment now. But if there's no recovery in the case, the law firm is not obligated to pay the money back, and neither is the client. And so that becomes one of those benefits. Whereas if you're going to your line of credit at the bank, you got to pay that back. So that's the non-recourse aspect of it.
One other question quickly, Kyle. A lot of people comment on the beautiful painting behind you. What is that? They want to know.
No problem. So that's Oak Alley, which is about 20 miles outside of New Orleans. So it's a beautiful plantation that you can come to down here, and that is the entrance to Oak Alley.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having us.
Doug, I think we need to do a seminar in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of like St. Patrick's Day, we usually do a Savannah Connectionology seminar. We've done one, I think it was in 2019, because we didn't have any webinars any seminars last year. But we are going to be starting back up again this fall. So I hope that we will return to Savannah. And like I said, I think we're going to have to add New Orleans on our list.
Thanks, Ginger.
Thanks, Kyle. And Leon, we're so happy to have you. I love your background. Thanks for being festive with me today.
Well, this is a special holiday for me, being of obvious Irish descent, with the last name Branham. It's good to share my holiday with everyone. Thanks for having us. I enjoy always seeing you and my other friends on the webinars. Those who aren't familiar with Fast Funds, we're among the first and the most trusted litigation funders in the industry. We've been serving the needs of plaintiffs and attorneys for over 25 years. We provide non-recourse funding on a case-by-case basis. I bring nearly 2 decades of experience in banking and finance before I came into the litigation industry. And I've worked for both vendors and law firms directly. I've only worked supporting the plaintiff side, or as I call it, the good guys. So I've seen firsthand how uneven the playing field is, with the plaintiff attorneys having to cover all their costs upfront on every case on a contingent basis. Meanwhile, the defense has all their attorney fees and all their case expenses covered by the insurance companies. This creates a situation where there's no urgency on the defense side to resolve cases in a quick manner, for the fact that they bill by the hour, right? So the more hours, the more they bill. And then they'll also, since they've got this huge insurance war chest, try to outspend the plaintiff's attorney as a tactic to get them to get your client to try to accept less than their case is worth. So for these reasons, we've created a unique funding product which is different than what was out there before. Other lenders ask for a personal guarantee. They ask for a lien against your attorney fees, and they ask for an interest in your entire portfolio of cases. We don't do it that way. We've created a product that is similar to the way that plaintiff attorneys operate. We offer case expense funding on a case-by-case, non-recourse basis. We don't tell you how to manage your cases or who to use. That's all up to you. So you guys pick the experts that you need or whatever is needed for your case, whether that's a life care planner, neuropsych evaluation, imaging for a TBI, demonstrative aids, whatever the case may be. We can help you move your case along. And not just one case, but imagine, right now you're settling one case, you wait to collect your fee, you pay taxes, and then you've got a decision. What do I do with that money? Do I invest it in the next case? Do I go on to do a marketing campaign? Or, do I cover some overhead? Using us for case expenses allows you to work up more cases at once, thereby increasing the value of your portfolio and decreasing the time that it takes to get to resolution. So it's been a privilege to help the attendees here at Connectionology. We've got a great response. We've had some good stories on people that have used us, and it really made a difference in their case. And looking to pass along some of that luck to more attorneys as we go.
Hey, Leon, how important are paralegals?
I had a previous boss that when we went to a meeting with an attorney, we would go in there and ask the head attorney, who do you report to? And it's always the paralegals that they report to.
All right. Well, thank you, Leon. It's great to see you. Leon, I've seen you at so many of the top law seminars pre-COVID over the years, and you're always a gentleman. Thank you for being here. And the paralegals should know you're very approachable, and your depth of your background really helps us out a lot in our cases. So thank you.
My pleasure, Doug. Look forward to seeing maybe at NTL. First one coming
Okay,
up.
man. National Trial Lawyers looking up. That'd be great. All right. Thanks, Leon. Ginger, we ready to, thank you. You ready to roll,
ready
Ginger?
to roll. Thank you again, Leon.
Got it.
All right, let's strap it on. We have a great webinar today. We have great sponsors there. And our topic today, tell me something good, how paralegals keep clients happy from soup to nuts. Okay, well, we have Alonso Palencia, Dordick Law, Los Angeles, opposite coast from us. Alonso, what's happening out in LA?
Beautiful weather out here, Doug. Hope everybody's doing well today. Looking forward to this webinar. It's good to see you guys again. Hope everybody is doing well, safe. Just looking forward to this. Let's get this thing rolling, Doug.
All right, Georgia, I see you here. You work with us. You're a senior, even though you appear to be of tender years. You're actually a grizzled veteran here at our law firm. You ready to go, Georgia?
I am. Thank you for having me. Gosh, it was really nice hearing the sponsors today too. I learned a lot just listening to what they had to offer. I'm excited to get a chance to use some of them too. The help that they'll provide is going to be great. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's going to be fun, I think.
Also, some of the participants, if you don't mind, send me something on chat saying what part of the country you're in. I'd like to kind of do a little survey here. Georgia, it's probably good you're reporting from the South with a name like Georgia. But okay, intake, only one opportunity to make a first impression. Alonso and Georgia, don't care. Oh, wow, look at all this. We have Florida, Lexington, Kentucky, Statesboro, Georgia. Wow, Berkeley, Washington, D.C. Man, I might give it some shout outs to some of y'all if we do this. Thank you for doing it. Indianapolis to Circle City. Okay, wow. Georgia, Alonso, intake. Is that just something you blow off? How important is intake, the first impression?
Go for it, Georgia.
Well, don't know who to get started with, but I think it's critical. Intake is it's the critical stage. I think from the very first call in from a client or a potential client rather, I think that they have to be met with someone who is willing to be welcoming and listen and hear them, because they're calling in, they're hurt or they're afraid or they're angry or they've had their trust betrayed. So they're looking for someone that's going to listen to them and show them that what they've got to say means something. And so I think from that very first call, that starts the process rolling. And then that just accelerates through the rest of the team, the gathering of the information. There's so much involved in intake. I think that's, just the initial call. I could speak for a long time about that. Moving on into some of the other stuff, and how you deal with those first calls. And I'm sure we'll get into a lot of that.
What do you think, Alonso?
No, I mean, intake is very important. This is where you sell yourself to a client. This is where you build your trust. This is why you tell them, hire us. Clients are looking for the best representation out there. And so your presentation, whoever is your front line taking these calls, they're the most important. Training your employees to make sure they take these calls, hearing out the clients, like Georgia says, building that trust and telling them we can do this job for you, and easing them in, obtaining all the information thereafter. I think it's the more information you can obtain from them, the better off you'll start off with their case. But I think, trust and being confident and speaking to them, I think if stuttering here and there, they tend to wonder if you know what you're doing. Being confident and getting all the information from them, it's going to go a long way in the intake.
Well, Alonso, Mariana Esposito, Mariana, you'll have to tell us where you're from. She says, my attorneys say the more info, the better. Do you think clients are impressed at intake when you're on your game, where you ask questions? How important is active listening? I've heard that's a concept one should use. Hello, Joed from Belford. You might want to go no video. How are you?
Sorry, I'm having connection issues. Sorry.
It's okay. That's Joanne Harrison, one of the best paralegals in this great land. But Mariana,
Thank you, I'm leaving.
we've been Zoom bombed by one of my employees. Okay. She's good. She's friendly.
One of our great intake people as well.
She is our intake guru, but
absolutely.
Mariana says more info. So what do you do? Do you get your lawyers involved in intake? At our firm, we sometimes come in for I don't want to say a cameo, but we come in to sort of seal the deal sometimes. What do you see on that, Alonso?
I mean, it just depends on what type of case it is. I try and bring in one of the lawyers as much as possible, but of course they are busy. Depending on the type of case that we have, for example, catastrophic ones, client suffers an amputation or unfortunately a quadriplegic or even a wrongful death. In those situations, I have to bring in the big guns, which is Gary Dordick. He's by far the only one that could probably seal the deal, especially when clients are out there interviewing other law firms. Cases maybe mid-between, one of our associates will handle it. I think clients, they're okay with speaking to the paralegals, but I think they want to know who the lawyer is, who the team is. We do have Zoom meetings with the majority of these new clients, putting out the team and saying, this is who's going to work on your behalf. So I think it's very important to have a lawyer present at all these intakes if possible.
Let me throw something. We have a question. Let me pull this question up. We're just going to make this interactive. Bernard Pettingill, one of the great economists in the United States, he's jumping in here on the paralegal program. He says, yes, plus the paralegal is the quote execution quarterback, end quote, helping your attorney put the quote trial team, end quote, together, making sure they can work together to compile the information and get the report filed timely. What do you think, Georgia?
I totally agree with Dr. Pettingill. I tend to describe a paralegal to clients as information gatherers. I believe that that's the best way we can help our attorneys to get all of the details so that there are not any surprises. I think that knowledge can help you overcome any obstacle. So even if it's something that might not be so positive for the case in its entirety, if an attorney has knowledge of it, that's what they do. That's what you guys do. I mean, the big guns argue. That's what you're there. So if you know about it, you can actually cut it off before it becomes that snowball.
Well, one thing I've heard, I've studied this through different groups like Mark Powers, Atticus, Stephen Farley's Rainmaker Institute. We learn things like if you don't return that client's call in a personal injury case or criminal defense case, if you don't convert that call to a client on that call, you call back, say 5 minutes later, it's something like a 50% chance that person's moved on. You really have to. The other thing is some law firms will call someone back on intake up to 7 times or more just to try to make contact. And sometimes they get the case because they're persistent with it. Another thing on intake, if you ever want to do something for laughs and giggles, you can do a secret shopper on your law firm. And it's shocking what people at a law firm don't know. For instance, one secret shopper move, they'll call and ask what your website is. They'll call and some of these groups, and believe it or not, a lot of paralegals don't know their website. One of them said not at our firm, but one of them said when they were secret shop, why don't you look at this other law firm that's a competitor of ours? We do the same stuff. Just go there. Okay. And what are you going to do? You need to know, everybody at your law firm doesn't know what you do. You need to train and be aware of that, because if you don't get a client, you don't get cash flow, right, Georgia?
That is true.
Yeah, Jerry
And that's
Maguire,
the other,
money, you know.
that's one of the other things that's so important about your intake team, because that's the bread and butter on the regular until you can get into court for the litigation process. So,
okay. So what are some specific tips you could tell us on intake that you do, Alonso, like a checklist? What would you say you would do?
Well, I mean, it's in terms of the clients and everything. First of all, you find out how they're doing. Start getting into basic information as you're going along. Now, I wouldn't make it so business-like. I think having conversation in between, like name, if they live in a certain area, let's say, you know, I'm from Pasadena. If somebody said Pasadena, you kind of start talking to them. Oh, have you been here? Have you been there? I think you ease them, build that trust, but start gathering information as you're going through. One of the key components, I think, to an intake is making sure that you get that emergency contact. As we know, some clients, you can tell them, you know, give us your updated number, and next thing you know, they're lost, and you have to find them. But taking as much information from them, showing them that you know what you need to get this case going is very, very important. Just outline. Everybody has an intake sheet, I'm sure, out there that you follow. You follow protocol, you know. So if you get all of that going, you should be fine, you know, in your intakes. But get all pieces of information that you can. If they have the traffic collision report, maybe a face page, maybe what an officer gives them. Make sure you get that, copies of everything.
Do you, Georgia, give them any advice about social media in initial intake?
Yes, we do. First, I want to, you know, I totally agree with Alonso. It's all about relationships. I think from the very outset, you have to start developing that relationship. And, you know, sometimes I get a little bit, you know, ready to get down to business. And, you know, I turn myself into that, not so much social, but into the business. But I think, you know, there's a time for that and a method to transition from that initial, you know, let's get acquainted to, I've got some serious things I need to talk to you about so that I can provide this to the attorneys so that we can determine how to best help you. And I just lost exactly what you said, what you were asking me about. But I think on, you know, developing the relationship, getting the information from the clients, making sure that you're able to talk to them, making them aware. We've had some things, well, I've had clients in the past that as far as social media, they don't understand that, you know, they're thinking they're posting this on Facebook and, oh, it's my friends and family. They don't realize that you're broadcasting that really out to the world. And the laws right now on that are so, you know, some attorneys are able to fight and argue and get it. I mean, you know, Facebook's got even now a special download that, you know, they can get your entire history, including things that you delete. I think that's very critical because people think, oh, well, I'll just delete it. But it's not quite that easy. Those show up as well. So yes, it is good to have that warning.
And don't you try to collect as many images from them from their smartphones or from friends' phones, that kind of information when they come in so you can document if it's a motor vehicle crash. We call them crashes, not accidents, but a motor vehicle crash. Don't you think it's important to gather photos, find out where the vehicles are, get somebody out there to document it? If it's a significant enough case, get somebody out to download a black box, that kind of thing. Do you think specifics like that, clients are impressed by them?
Absolutely. I think knowing that those things exist and that you need to do those things, when you ask somebody about photographs and also of injuries, a lot of times, you know, they've got visible injury, but those are going to change in the course of 6 months or even less. So I think that just shows them that you're on it. You're giving them some things to do to help them be interactive, and to know that you know what you're doing. You know, you're ready to get started. You're looking for items that are going to help support their case in the long run. I think they appreciate that.
How about, we have here, Mariana. Boy, she's great. She's given us some good ideas. She says, we offer 30-minute free consultations for callers to talk to a lawyer. And Jessica Schultz says, how do you stay time efficient when you've got a potential client who continuously goes off on unrelated tangents for long periods of time? How do you rein them back in politely? That's never happened at our firm. Alonso, has that happened out at Dordick Law in LA?
Oh, you always have those special clients that will tell you their life story, which is completely unrelated to the accident. I think sometimes you just have to slowly ease them in, listen to them just a little bit, and say, you know, let's get back on track here. I still need more information, but yeah, politely. But yeah, I mean, I've had some stories of clients, like I said, going off tangents about maybe where they were born and back in the day and everything, and you're like, okay, that has no relation, but okay, no problem. But again, that helps build that, you know, relationship, that trust, because now you've listened to them, you're getting to know them a bit. But I would say take control of the whole intake and just ease them back in to what you're trying to do here, which is gather the information.
Kim Horan says, I've been involved in a matter where the individual's Facebook page and history helped us win the case. Have you ever seen that? Facebook for the defendant, you know, when you're doing your investigation.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have an in-house investigator. So the minute we get that intake, he's to gather the police report, scene photos, property damage photos, and background on defendants. He'll find social media, he'll find Instagram. You know, you can screenshot it, you can do whatever you need to do to download that stuff, and it is helpful. You know, so we do have our investigator that does all of that. And the quicker you get into it to download the stuff and look at their social media and everything, the better it is for you. Some defendants are pretty smart, will start maybe shutting off their Facebook or their Instagram, and you won't get it. So at intake, everything has to move very quickly. I would say in the first 30 days, you have to gather as much info before everybody gets wise as to what you plan on doing.
Georgia, how about 911 calls? How about video from cameras around where the crash happened? We have that happen. We have a case, in a death case right now we're working where, thank God, we got out and we got a surveillance camera from a local business, and it clearly shows the driver pulled out and killed the motorcyclist, right, Georgia? How about 911, things like that? You have to move fast, don't you?
Yeah, those are so important. And that's another critical part of the intake team, because they're the ones they have the initial handling. So they're the ones that have to look at the situation, evaluate the type of claim that you have, think outside of the box. You know, think about that bank that's on the corner that has a video camera that's, you know, on their drive-through, that's, you know, across the street, you know, but those are things, and that's what makes, again, you know, I mean, I'm in awe of our intake team. I don't handle a lot of the intakes. You know, I've had a little bit of the experience when I, you know, first came to Douglas R. Beam, PA. But now I'm primarily in the litigation. But without the intake team looking at those things and making sure that we get those critical pieces that are time sensitive, they used to have the videos at traffic lights. You know, and I think there's still some intersections that may still have those. You know, those kind of things are just so vital. Making sure that you check about who the witnesses were that were there on the scene of whatever it may be. We're an electronic world. They have cell phones. You know, if somebody was on their cell phone and posted something. I love secondary sources, the internet. You know, I say anytime, Google it. And that will start you on this beautiful pathway to finding all sorts of information that you otherwise would not have.
And also you can use Thompson products. LexisNexis has a wonderful people search. It's amazing what you can find out with that, right, Alonso? Those type. Yeah.
No doubt about it. The internet is full of information on people. We don't even know that. And we should use more, like Georgia says, social media. You can find so much information, videos out there of people posting them. I mean, there's so many people doing so many different things that, all this information can come to light even just by Googling, like she says.
Well, I'm looking here, just a quick update. We have Charleston, South Carolina. We have Bessie Rodriguez from Honolulu, Hawaii. I think that's where the next paralegal in-person seminar needs to be with you two. What is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also
I
have,
agree.
agree?
Well, we have ours coming up in Cabo, so I think Cabo is going to be good for us in May. So
Oh, nice.
all those paralegals, register yourself and let's all go to Cabo.
All right. We have a really good question here from, or comment from Christina Devaney. She wants to ask y'all, that's a Southern, thing. Do you talk to clients about how to communicate with their doctors and ensure that they are having medical professionals documenting pain and suffering in their file? Wow, that's a good point, isn't it? What do you think,
Love
George?
that question. Oh, I absolutely love that question. And, something that I've, talked to them about for years, and I've heard even you talk about it too. And I absolutely love it. You tell them, you do the head to toe, the head to toe rundown with your doctor, because that's your opportunity to discuss with them every single thing that's going on with you and get it documented. I'm a very black and white person when it comes to what's in the record, and so that I look for what's in the record, because I know insurance companies, they do not really care about our client. They are going to put in the diagnosis codes, the numbers, look at the records, and they're going to make that without the personal attributes that we assign as plaintiffs, paralegals. We have compassion for the client. Not that insurance companies don't have some compassion somewhere along the line.
There was a girl named Pollyanna, but go ahead.
But so, we do that head to toe. You tell them, go in and let the doctor know. Just start with, if you're experiencing headaches, talk about the headaches. If you've had any changes in your vision, discuss that with them. If your shoulders hurt, your neck, is it coming down your shoulders into your arms? Are your hands tingling, fingers, and then just trace that all the way down. Is your upper back sore and stiff? And do you find that, that between your shoulder blades ache, all of those things, and then just carry it all the way down. And that's their opportunity. I also tell them, I know you're not a complainer, because they'll say, oh, I don't want to complain. I'm just, but this is your time. This is your opportunity where you have to be a complainer for that moment to get everything documented, at least initially, and then you can, talk about just the things that are hurting you at the moment. But it's very important. Documentation, in my mind, is key.
Now, Alonso, these are great questions. If this was an appellate panel, we would call it a hot bench. They're asking a lot of questions. We have Jessica Schultz. Let's see, Jessica, and I think we touched on this, Alonso, but if you want to, I usually ask my clients to list their symptoms or rate their pain on a piece of paper before they go to the doctor. I will ask them a list of questions. They write the answers on notebook paper and take it to the doctor with them. Isn't that a good homework assignment, Alonso?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they should write all their complaints. Like Georgia touched upon, a lot of them don't like to complain. But if you let them know, hey, you're having pain in your arm, you should tell the doctor you need treatment. You should have that checked. A lot of them are like, you're right. It is good for them to write everything down. I think most clients tend to forget. They go to the doctor and the doctor's asking them and they tend to forget one thing. If they write it down and they're looking down and telling them, I mean, if you're in pain, you're in pain. And clients tend not to want to express that pain, but they should. And you have to push them in terms of, your legs hurt, your arms hurt, your neck hurts, your back hurts. have them be expressive to these doctors, because these doctors are going to document, like Georgia says, they're going to document and send it off to us. Insurance companies, yeah, they don't really care. To them, it's just a bunch of numbers and diagnosis, but to us, it is a client to get better during this litigation.
Well, Inga Harrison you picked up, this is weird, like you in Georgia, they're in your heads and you're in their heads, something. Those reports should have the medical codes that are compatible with the insurance company. Now that's kind of an advanced concept, isn't it? But that's a good idea, maybe. I don't know. What do you make of that? That's a tougher one, isn't it?
It is, I think, insurance companies have, I think it's called Colossus, I believe,
Yeah.
or at least that's what it used to be. And that's probably showing my age now, but they have this system where they put in diagnosis codes and things like that. I would caution to be mindful of that, however, because what's coming to my brain right now is thinking about in the end of the case when you're dealing with liens or LOPs, and especially when you're dealing with liens where there's payouts, you have to be mindful of that because some issues are not necessarily related. And you might want to not get so detailed with diagnosis codes that want to come up later and bite you.
Well, one of the things, Georgia is a self-described research nerd. That's what you call yourself. And she just seems to get the most joy out of going through Medicare codes, whatever. She goes through these, Alonso, I know you do. You go through all these to say totally unrelated, totally unrelated. You can't do that. Now, how about this? This is from Lorenza Beckner. And boy, this is chock full. This is a checkbook, right? A checklist right here. I'd suggest to the participant. Anytime we have a death or large motor vehicle accident, tractor trailer checklist that we follow, which includes preservation letters to businesses for cameras, police dash cams, and body cams, if law enforcement using that. Tractor trailer companies, owners of those companies, registered agents, 911 calls, people search using Westlaw or the equivalent with LexisNexis or some other proprietary program. Schedule inspections, contact tow lots for photos and vehicle locations. And yes, Facebook stalking defendants for sure. Well, I don't know, stalking would be a little bit much, Lawrence. We do select criminal offense, probably not. We'll use a different word. And researching defendants, let's call it that. Time is of the essence in these cases, because once that evidence is gone, it's gone, right? You need to think about it. And Inga talks about, or when and how does a client talk about activities they no longer do? Because if you go, Georgia and I like to do this, from the top of your head to your toes, tell us what hurts, okay? And we go through that. And then we document it with them. And then we ask a few other questions like, what could you do before this crash that you can't do now? Now, if it's right after it happened, that has to develop. But we always like that. We like them to bring people in, don't we, Georgia and Alonso? Sometimes when they go to a doctor, particularly in brain damage cases, you need to take somebody with you to the doctor, somebody who loves you and cares about you. Because Alonso, you make a good point. Everybody all of a sudden becomes tough guy or tough woman, but the wife may say, my macho husband here, my chismo husband, this is what's going on with him. And then the husband will go, yeah, I didn't know that, or vice versa. So do you think before and after initial consultation, you just don't have enough usually, do you?
I mean, I think in cases where it's catastrophic, I think it's very important to have a lot of family members around and friends, right? In terms of, when you're doing an intake, if it's a husband and wife, you want the wife there, especially if it's catastrophic in terms of a husband, right? You want to know a husband, a guy sometimes is macho and, like you said, won't say everything, but having the wife there to say, he used to be able to, let's say, take out the trash. Now he's in a lot of pain. I think having people to tell you about how they previously were is very important to solidify a lot of the injuries that they're experiencing in terms of like brain injuries and everything. You want to get all that information early on, all the friends that they have, interview them early on so you can know how this person was way before the accident. I think that's very important, in terms of establishing the injuries and how they were previously.
Several of the participants make really good points. Ms. Schultz does again, talks about how do you overcome the objections that some clients have over worrying about medical costs during litigation. And so many people have no insurance or very little insurance. Even with the liens and letters of protection, clients worry about the quote debt, end quote, they've compiled during medical treatment. Is that real? I mean, is that something your clients come in and are worried about?
Definitely. I mean, I have a lot of clients that are worried what's going to happen if we can't prevail in the case. Are they still responsible for paying these doctors? Unfortunately, yes. But at the end of the day, we can still work with some of these doctors. I mean, clients as it is have sustained, traumatic injuries. An accident, we all know, changes people's lives, financial situations, but they are concerned. How am I going to pay for all of this? What am I going to do? What if you cannot prevail? What ifs? I mean, they need the treatment. So we cannot tell them, well, we don't know if we're going to prevail, so no, don't get any treatment. You have to take it as every case you're going to win. If the outcome isn't what you want, you deal with it at the end, but you have to tell the clients they need that care. They need that treatment. Just go and we'll deal with it in the end. And, we work with a lot of great doctors that will work with us in the end. Obviously, a client can't always pay. And some of the doctors say, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We'll talk to your client and we'll work it all out. But yeah, you do have a lot of clients that come in extremely concerned for that.
Now, Mary Sue Ring writes, we always send all liens, Medicare, healthcare, to the client to review to make sure they are motor vehicle accident related. If not related, we send letters requesting the items be removed. So far, we've been successful. That's a good practice, isn't it? To let your client look through there and help you determine what's related and what's not.
Sure.
And how about, do we forget about loss of services with children? If you're in a state where you can bring that claim, or loss of consortium with the spouse, if that's it, those claims, some people are afraid to bring them because there can be, in Florida, we have something called a proposal for settlement, and they can say, oh, well, we'll give you $1,000 to go away, spouse. And if the spouse doesn't accept it, it doesn't do well at, say it's a defense verdict on that or whatever, then the spouse winds up owing the other side money. But in catastrophic, truly horrific cases in particular, do you look at intake at all potential plaintiffs if there were children in the car, or not even there? The injuries are so catastrophic, the person needs 24-hour care or whatever. How do y'all handle that, Georgia?
We have to look at the dynamic of the family or the people that are, the immediate surrounding of the injured person. You have certain situations where an atypical family dynamic might exist where, let's just say, and this isn't unusual anymore, but let's say that the woman is outside of the typical role and she's the major primary breadwinner. So, and she's the one that's injured. So now the husband, his role has changed. The things that he would normally do around the house and taking care of the kids and, perhaps, you know, the yard stuff. All of those things are things that he's going to have to take on now differently. And that can work vice versa as well. You know, so you have to look at your dynamic, who kind of does what are their primary roles? How do they interact with the children? You know, is the husband a stay-at-home dad? You find that a lot of times these days, you know, and now he's injured, so he can't stay at home and be able to take care of the kids because he can no longer pick them up or can no longer take them to their t-ball or, you know, soccer practice. So I think it all boils down to knowing your client. I mean, that's where what you have, you know, where did you come from? Where did you go? What you know, you had mentioned that. It's like, know your client, you know, and look at them and listen to them, be an active listener, find out those things. That's part of the relationship that Alonso was talking about. You have to get to know the client in order to lead yourself to those other areas that you need to be watching for litigation.
Trish Bull says we use an economist to value loss of services in all catastrophic cases. Somebody like Dr. Pettingill, I would assume. You also life care planners. Gary, did you, I mean, calling you your boss's name there, Alonso. But Alonso, do you start thinking in intake too, the long game? Do you start thinking about, geez, if we try this case, what do I need to get going here, particularly again, in a large damage case?
Yeah,
Like
we always think
that kind of thing.
Yeah, we always think long-term on these cases, especially catastrophic cases where what experts are we going to need, depending on the injury? I mean, obviously, sometimes we have some that are quadriplegics. Right off the bat, you got to get all these experts going. You know, touching upon a little bit of the loss of consortium, that's an important factor in that. You can imagine the way a person's or a spouse's life changes when their significant other is injured. You know, but you always have to think ahead on these. You know, what impact will it have on the spouse? The role she or he has to take on when a person's severely injured, whether it be brain injury, amputation, quadriplegic. We always include a loss of consortium for the spouse because they're going to take on a much greater role. The stress is there. We've had cases where the significant other, the marital problems after that. You can imagine the pressure of, you know, the spouse taking on all of this and still caring for their loved one. You know, all these experts that we would retain would help in that, you know, whether it be a psychologist in the future, marital counseling, in terms of the injured, life care planners, economists, like somebody said, to assess how much the future in terms of earnings and losses and everything would be. But we think very, very much ahead when we're doing these intakes of where is this case going to go and who are we going to need to help us in this case?
Now, Nikisha Bond has a couple of questions. How often do you follow up with lien holders? And when a lien holder notifies the firm of a subrogation lien, do you request an SPD or an MSA? Now, lien holders, that's a very strategic approach too, isn't it? When do you negotiate a resolution? That's a huge factor, isn't it, in a personal injury case? Georgia? Or Alonso?
No, go ahead, Georgia. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, you know, I think it's critical to, you know, notify those that, you know, have any kind of statutory or federal right of subrogation, you know, early on. You know, those that are learn later. I think communication is going to be your key. So I'll just put that out there at first, because I think you don't have to be in touch with them every minute of every day of, you know, the entirety of the case handling, because you're going to get notification of liens in pre-litigation. And you might have a case that's in pre-lit for a couple of years, then it moves into litigation because it goes nowhere. And so now you've still got these lien holders. But as long as you're discussing with them, because you have to think a little bit about your clients and making sure that there's no economic damages from, or credit damages from, you know, collection companies being notified about these outstanding bills. That goes back to the question that the paralegal had about, you know, how do you handle clients that are worried about their medical bills? So by, you know, by keeping in communication with the lien holders, as long as they know that you're watching them, they're pretty good to wait till the end of the case. And I think that I don't ever really get into any negotiations with anyone until the end, for a lot of different reasons. One being, the numbers that you would board at trial, other things like that. And two, because sometimes you just don't know what's going to ultimately be related until you've really gotten into your investigation, learned about pre-existing issues, maybe out-of-state treatment for something that the client has forgotten about until 3 years after the case has gotten to your firm. And so you have to kind of weed those things out. So I think just communication with your lien holders, knowing that they exist is critical. And having an idea of the total amounts, at least by the time you are going to get ready for mediation, is just paramount. But that's what I think on that subject.
What do you think, Alonso?
I mean, just like Georgia said, notifying all your lien holders, Medicare, everybody that has statutory is very important, because those are detrimental if you don't notify them. Those are the ones that will come back to you and will seek reimbursement, whether it be from the client and or the attorney. So you have to make that early on, and they'll stick around. At the end of the case, they'll send you their final lien amount. In terms of your medical providers, they'll continuously send you status reports asking what's going on, sending you up follow-up bills. Remember, we're still here and we're owed money. So I normally never have problems with the actual lien holders. It's more the statutory ones that I'm more concerned about, and giving them notice right away. Those are very important.
I think it's the law.
that's what scares me.
I mean, there could be some bad things that happen if you don't take care of Medicare. Some of the hospital liens, depending on if there's a statutory. Lorenza Beckner reminds us that day in the life videos are a great tool as clients are going to medical appointments to document the struggles. Also, it helps document how it's affected the client's home life, spouse, children, and with more severe traumatic injuries, and there's a corporate defendant. That's a good point, I think, there. Inga Harrison asked, if a lien holder is left out, can the attorney be held responsible? We always take the approach, yes. Even we're not going to say we're responsible, but you better get with your attorney. Georgia, you and Alonso are very skilled, but it's always important for that team to look at all that, because you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. Am I right about that?
I agree with that. I mean, the attorney signed the lien just protecting them. Ultimately, the client, we all know, is responsible, but you don't want that lien holder to sue the client and the client comes back or reports you to the bar. So it's very important that you take into consideration every lien you've signed, so you can avoid any of those pitfalls later on of lawsuits or anything. But like I keep reiterating, the statutory liens, you must really, really be on top of those. You can deal with a lien holder, regular doctor, and negotiate, but when you start getting to the statutory ones, I think no lawyer will be happy. And I'm sure a lot of people in that firm will get in trouble, especially if it's a high one.
Sure.
Now, Alonso, I did want to point out to you, I know you're in Los Angeles. Here in Florida, we have the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, professional basketball. I assume with the Clippers and the Lakers, you're still playing professional ball out there.
Yeah, no, we are, definitely are. I'm a true Laker fan. I mean, look,
you're a true Lakers
I'm going to
fan.
show you. I got that right behind me.
Wow, you are a Lakers fan.
So I'm a Laker fan. Clippers, well, one day they'll win it, I think. But I did bring something for you, Doug, just because I thought I'd put it on, but we're still going through. But look, to show you, Laker fan.
So this is what you would do if you found out you had a client who was a Lakers fan. You might put that jersey on.
I would definitely put the jersey on. With clients, you have to, again, find out what they like to do. Build that trust. I mean, if they're a Laker fan, talk a little sports to them. Especially if you're trying to sign them up. I think making it easy with them in terms of them saying, look, we're not that really business firm around here. We're more family oriented, friendly. I think a lot of clients are like, okay, you know, you're not that corporate lawyer, you know, with the suits. I mean, I've had Gary meet clients, you know, in regular clothes, not a suit, because I think clients feel more at ease in seeing somebody in just regular clothing. So yeah, I mean, whatever we can do to lure the client in and make them comfortable with our firm, we'll definitely do it.
All right, we have, as I called it, a hot bench, you know, a lot of questions. Are you familiar with the insurance companies using peer review to try and diminish the value of clients' medical bills? What do y'all think about that? That's from Maury Hopkins.
I think it's horrible. I think it's another, it's horrible for our client. I've seen them do that in order to be able to, you know, say that medical treatment was unnecessary. And it's just, it's, see, this is where it comes in where my mama said, don't talk religion or politics in the office, because I get very uptight about it, because I think that insurance companies, they overstep when they don't let our clients get the treatment that they need. If a doctor, an educated, well-known, top of his field doctor says that you need something, that you need a type of treatment, it's very hard for me to wrap myself around people that are hired by an insurance company to minimize the insurance company's costs to be able to judge whether or not my doctor is correct in what he's advising me. So that's on a little personal note. So I'll fight for my clients. I'll remind them about the appeal process. Look at your explanation of benefits that come from your insurance company. You know, if there is an appeal process and you feel wrong, make sure you do that, because those are time constrained procedures. If you don't file an appeal timely, then you lose your right to appeal that. So, and you know, and ultimately the attorney, you just call it to your attorney's attention so that they can argue that along the way and get any kind of reimbursement for your client possible throughout the case.
Jessica Schultz says in all caps, preach, Georgia. Preach. Hallelujah. Well, you know, Clarence Darrow is one of the great trial lawyers in American history, did the Scopes Monkey trial and other great cases, great trial lawyer. He said, in the eyes of the law, a corporation is an individual, but an individual with no soul.
Ooh.
That's how I look at it. Yeah. So you preach, Georgia, and Alonso and I will amen you.
There you go. Amen, Georgia.
All right. Alonso, Kim Bergen asked, we send all health insurances, ERISA, letters certified with the return of service for our files, as well as PIP insurance companies as well, especially if they have MedPay, they would get an ERISA letter as well. Do you use certified mail as a paralegal on your cases?
Certified mail, a lot of these have emails, faxes. I mean, back then, yeah, it was always certified mail. Now with technology, a lot of them are doing it by email. A lot of them are doing it still the old way, fax machines. But if you want it secured, yes, I would send it by certified mail, get that signature to show later on in the event you don't get anything. I did send you, I did everything to contact you, and you even signed for it, and you still didn't contact me. But you should. I mean, any which way. At the end of the day, you're trying to protect your client from any future losses that they may have to endure. I mean, as it is, they've sustained injuries and bad accidents. You don't want them, after you've settled it, some insurance company coming back saying, oh, by the way, you owe me money. So anything you can do to protect your client, you know, certified email, whatever it is, do it.
I think, Georgia, we use a product that we don't have financial interest in. It's WALZ, and it Walls Certified Mailers. And they put all of that stuff on one page, and you just, it's easy.
And it is the certified mail return receipt process. So you get the same thing, and you can track that online now. And I was, you know, in agreement with Alonso. And here's something too that I find interesting. I love, like Doug said, I'm a nerd at heart, so if you will, but I like to research stuff. But you know, I learned quite some time ago that by sending those certified return receipt letters there, especially when it's concerning an ERISA policy, can sometimes be critical, because you may need that verification that you sent it and they received it if you want to argue with them not providing you the statutorily required documents if you're trying to negotiate a very high lien. You may not want to do something like that if it's a smaller lien, but when you're dealing with ERISA, if you look at the statutes, there's certain things that they have to provide you, plan documents, a summary of the benefits, things like that, that if they don't, then, that might be a tool for you. It's not a for certainty, but it could be a tool in later negotiations for reductions.
Now, Trish Sproul says here in the state of Georgia, not you, Georgia, but the state of Georgia, hospitals are filing liens on the auto insurance instead of billing the patient's insurance for initial hospital visits. Doing a state lien index check is paramount. So that may be something we need to think about, particularly if you're in Georgia. Now, let's go to our third topic. We're going to try to get this done. We've got the shot clock running here, Alonso. We're going to have to see if the Lakers can score. Anyway, imploding clients, ways to save your clients and their cases. How about that? Imploding clients. This is a catastrophic. This is the biggest thing in their lives, right? I mean, we do these cases every day. We say at our office, it's always minor surgery unless it's you. All of a sudden it gets real. We can't lose that. What do you make of an imploding client? What is an imploding client, Alonso?
A very, very difficult client, I'll tell you that. Some of these clients, I mean, like you said, Doug, we have cases we work on. We have various cases. These clients have one. Hopefully they'll only have one in their life. Some of them, they don't know how to deal with the injuries they sustain. And so we're the ones that are going to take the brunt. When they're imploding, you have to be aware when it's about to really, really break out. And at that point, you have to bring in, the attorneys to come in, especially when we have an imploding client, we bring in Gary right away, right? Because these clients, when they're imploding, their next line is, you know what, I'm going to go find another lawyer. And you don't want that. So they'll deal with the paralegals in terms of what you say to them. You just ease them all the way through, give them their updates, give them calls randomly, make sure they're seeing their doctors. Periodic updates will help, but you still have those clients. Unfortunately, they're at home. What do they have to do other than call their lawyer and say, you told me the same thing 2 weeks ago, what is going on? So before the full imploding begins, make sure you bring in the lawyer and talk to them and calm them down. That'll buy you some time for a while until the next imploding that they're going to have. And then you bring back the lawyer again. But, trying to have them not implode is very, very difficult. You have to have a lot of patience, because I think we touched upon this some time ago, is clients break out. At what point do you decide, that's it, I can't deal with this client anymore, because they're imploding. I'm sure, Georgia, you've had those where you just mute and you're yelling at them without them hearing you, because I know I've had some of those.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, I'll give you guys a scenario. My wife, she's very, very patient. I was working from home during this COVID, and I would listen to her talking on the phone, soft, sweet. You can kind of hear the client in the background yelling, and she's like, it's okay, everything will be fine. I'm thinking, if I can just go through that line, I think it's a lot of patience. But when they implode, make sure you get your attorney involved right away.
Georgia, we've never had that at our office, have we?
Oh, no. I was just thinking, no, never. No, I was actually thinking on the what you were saying about the phone call, and something came to mind to me, and I just have to share. Sometimes you just have to make it through the call and then hang up and hope that you have someone who's going to sing the Barney song with you. So you know, and just, you know, just have that levity, you know, or a song of your choice. But the Barney song comes to mind because I have one of the attorneys that I work with. She's fabulous. You know, when I'm about to implode from a client imploding, you know, we sing the Barney song together and it just kind of washes away. But, you know, I'm with you on that though, too. Your imploding client, you know, you have to listen, you have to hear what they have to say. And then you know, you call in the big gun, you know, you let them know. And usually what I'll tell them is I'll listen to them and I'll say, you know, I would love to be able to say something that's going to make it all better for you, but let me do this. Let me see about getting scheduled for you to speak with Mr. Bean. And then, you know, right then, and fortunately I have a boss that, you know, he will set aside 3 hour time. You know, if it's a difficult person, he'll say, give them a 3 hour slot on this day, or this day, you know, whatever's convenient for them. And then, so we work out with his schedule and offer them. And of course, it never takes 3 hours for them to get it all out. And typically by the time they get to him, you know, they're a lot nicer to him than they were to me.
I agree.
But, you know, we paralegals are thick-skinned.
Mariana Espinosa, and she's really Esposito, says, those clients are why I smoke and drink when I go home.
Look, I keep one of these in my desk. I agree, Mariana. Sometimes those clients will push you to that limit.
I have a question. When I get these imploding clients from Georgia and other people, other paralegals, I'll come back to them and I said, that was the sweetest lady. What's your issue with her, Georgia? Or I said, or that guy, he's a great guy. All he wanted was some questions answered. And they'll go, Doug, come on, you know, because I know where we're going. We also, are there any tips, Sarah Green asks, any tips on getting the point politely across that there won't be a new update weekly or with these needy clients? Mary Hopkins says, the imploding clients keep us on our toes.
Yeah,
They do.
That's true. You know, so what are a point? How do you politely get across that you didn't adopt the client? The client retained you. You have not adopted the client. How do you handle that, Alonso? Because if you give them the reason I give 3 hours, I'll just listen to them. And after about 30 minutes, they've unloaded. Then 45 minutes, we're all just looking at each other. And then I'll go, well, there's some other things we need to go over. And they'll go, no, Mr. Beam, if you have something else to do, I understand you're busy. I said, you've got 3 hours, whatever you want to talk about. Georgia, how often do those run? About 45 minutes. Now, I don't do what some lawyers, one of my lawyer friends would do it if he had a client who wouldn't stop. He would say, well, you know what Dr. Sigmund Freud used to say? And the client goes, oh, no, what did Dr. Freud say? Your 50 minutes is up. Then he would walk out. Now, you're going to lose the client. You don't want to do that. But, now, Betsy Rodriguez asks, do you have any suggestions in disputing the charges that come from records being provided by an outsourced company like Seox, who charge in excess of $1,000 for medical records? We do state in our letter request for the HITECH Act that they cannot charge a fee per page, a per page fee and search or retrieval fee, and to inform us of the charge before mailing the records with a large invoice attached. No, that's a little bit off topic, but it's an important point. Isn't that something we have to look at, you as paralegals in particular, costs like that?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
we absolutely do. And I know that for us, I've actually had a client go and get her own from HITECH because the cost was so high. You want to keep the cost down for your client. So I think that as a paralegal plaintiff, you're constantly thinking about what's going to come out in the end for them, you know, especially if they are someone, if there's limited coverage or if they're uncertain of what their medical bills, let's just say they have extensive medical bills, you know, you want to make sure that the costs for records and things like that are watched. I find the same thing with depot transcripts. You know, there's a lot of extraneous charges that get put into these invoices. So you have to be mindful and look, you know, say what is a processing and compliance fee? What is that? I've never heard of that. What compliance with what? And if you call them up and you ask them, you know, what is the in compliance with what? And they don't know, then there's a real good chance you can get that removed from your invoice. So, but anyway, I think record companies are harder to deal with because most of them are out of state, or they feel like that they're under a different, because they're a third party, that, you know, we don't sit in the shoes of the plaintiff. But I think, I don't know for sure, but I believe that there was something new come out just recently on the high tech. So you might want to do some research about exactly what the high tech is allowing, because I think initially it was making your client have to go and get the records themselves, and they could only have it sent to them. But I think that that was tweaked a little bit just recently, at least for the state of Florida. And so now you can, I think that the plaintiff attorneys step in the shoes of the plaintiff. So that would be something that I would have to look into. But I just saw something about it a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Okay. Now, Nikisa Vaughn, she makes a really good practice tip. I attempt to keep the client updated by sending a copy of all correspondence and pleadings for their case. It may eliminate multiple phone calls and an imploding client. That's something we all strive to do, but it's tough sometimes to keep them informed of all that. But that's a great point she makes there. And then we have another question for y'all. Aren't there legal restrictions on the admissibility of social media posts, text messages, etc.? Yes, there can be, but that's more of a lawyer question, wouldn't you say? Y'all know that, but that's something that the lawyer would work with you if the other side tries to exclude or suppress that evidence, right?
Yeah, that's
okay. Okay, here's another point from Jessica Schultz. We have started asking clients to give us access to their patient portals so we can just directly download the records and save the client on records expense. What do you think about that?
We have some of those clients like that. They've given us access to their patient portals, and our case managers are able to download. It keeps the cost down for them as well, and we're getting records updated constantly. So that's actually a very good way of getting your medical records. I agree.
Yeah, I do too. Great for summaries of treatment. It can help you avoid ordering a voluminous hospital, record for something that was completely unrelated. So yeah, I agree totally.
And please apologize if I don't get your name pronounced correctly here, but Araceli Feliz Mayorga says, yes, new high-tech act currently under review. She gives you a link right there in chat. You might want to copy and paste that. This is the fun of these paralegal seminars. Paralegals really like sharing, don't y'all?
We do. I mean, I love talking to other paralegals, getting information from them. I think, all the paralegals like to help each other, and it's great. I mean, she just posted a link that anybody could use. I'm sure other people will post other information. I mean, we've been doing this. I think I read on the profile, 61 years between me and Georgia doing this. But I think every day you got to agree, we're learning something new. Somebody's finding something different for us to use, maybe a shortcut to getting something done faster, or a website where we can get more information. I mean, I love these webinars involving paralegals and everything, and exchanging information. And, I see a lot of posts coming in, a lot of questions, information. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I just sent the link. It had come just to the panelists. So do y'all see the link there? That you can get the high tech thanks to Mariana Esposito again. So let's go to our next topic. And by the way, those of you who are participants, if you like this, if you enjoy Alonso and Georgia, and you would like to see more of this, please write ginger@connectionology.com, or you can write Georgia or Alonso, dougbeam@dougbeam.com. Let us know specifically what you want. I don't know about y'all, but when I get on an airplane and I see the pilot, she's walking around checking things and looking, I don't know, she's probably not doing anything except, fine. But it reassures me, makes her think she's doing her checklist. You can have a pilot who's flown thousands of hours, still does the checklist. And let me ask you, Alonso and Georgia, what if the participants here today have questions? Do you mind if they reach out to you and ask you for help?
Sure.
Please do.
Yes, please.
Now here's Kelly Barham, Barham. That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Georgia? She's a paralegal here at our office in intake.
She's another one of those premium intake people.
Kelly said, this is so much fun. We get Zoom bomb by my office. Okay, Kelly says, how do you speak with clients who insist on only pursuing alternative or new wave treatments such as acupuncture, hyperbaric, essential oils, natural herbs, etc., and are resistant to other paths of treatment, most, if not all, which are not covered by insurance? I think the larger question is, do you as paralegals dictate the medical care and treatment of your clients?
No, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alonso.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I don't think we dictate. I think it's important that you remind the client that the insurance company is going to look at continuity of care. They're going to look at what is documented for your injuries. And personally, I think that alternative medicine is fantastic. I think that your symptomology can be helped, if not relieved, completely in some circumstances by those different types of modalities. But if you're going to do those modalities, I think it's also very important that you get something from the provider of those services showing what you are receiving. So at least that you can incorporate that in. I still think that the recommendation would be that, it would probably benefit you to go and have a medical doctor at least document what's going on with you. And then have your doctor recommend some alternatives. Then that way you're having a doctor, my doctor recommended I try these. It just goes right into painting that smooth flow into the alternative medicine as opposed to your typical doctors.
And we say in the law, if it's not taken down, if you don't have a court report or electronic recording, official electronic recording of a proceeding, it didn't happen. When you try to get a record later, it didn't happen.
Nobody remembers.
Do you think there's an analogy with your client if he or she goes to a doctor and doesn't tell them things? Because the defense loves that. They blow that up, don't they, at trial? And they'll go, oh, you went to see your doctor. You didn't mention your neck was bothering you. Now, they'll do that and it looks silly. You went to your dentist and didn't talk about brain injury or something.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that, Alonso? Do you think that documentation in the medical records is appropriate and it's critical? What do you think?
I think it's extremely important. I mean, I've seen Gary look at medical records where a client, let's say, has a neck surgery 2 years later, and he'll look at the first record and try and look at for all the complaints. If he doesn't see initial complaints in the first 3 months of neck, he starts getting very, very concerned. But documenting everything, that's why it's very important to tell a client, make sure you tell your doctor everything from the initial get-go. I mean, they may have discomfort in their neck, but it's their back that's really excruciating and they're in a lot of pain. And they're going to focus a lot on the back. But I've seen clients consistently tell the doctor, my neck still hurts, my neck still hurts. That's very important. That's very important for them to document that all the way through, because it's harder to discredit saying, well, you know, you went ahead and you complained all the way through for 2 years and you had the surgery. They're going to say, well, he complained, versus he didn't complain for 6-7 months. And then next thing you know, you have the surgery on the neck. I mean, I've seen Gary do that, going, that's normally not a good way to do it. And so it's very important that they document it from day one, everything. You know, and if it's not day one with that doctor, I think in follow-up saying, you know what, now I have some neck issues or some leg issues or anything, you got to consistently remind that client, report any new symptoms to them.
All right, we have just a few minutes left here before Ginger. I see people are interested in the coffee draw here to see if they win the coffee. It's probably that time of day. Everybody's thinking about a cup of coffee or something, a stretch break. And remember, if you're interested in our custom designed discovery notepads that we do for our law firm, just go to Doug Beam at dougbeam.com. Georgia, you think we ought to open it up to anybody who wants a 2-pack today?
I think that if you're feeling generous, because I think they're well worth it. I think they provide an extra tool for the paralegal. I use them all the time. I love
Okay,
them.
we're opening it up. It'll come out of your bonus. No, we wouldn't do that to you. So we're opening it up to you.
Thank
Now,
you.
I don't know if we covered.
Generous, but you know, to a point.
Okay, the last word. All right, Alonso, from the West Coast, bring it. Tell us your 1 minute, 2 minute warning. Give us your whatever you want to leave everybody with.
What should I leave everybody with? You know, I know it's a stressful job here, what we do every day. I know sometimes we have some mental breakdowns over all of this, but I assure you, stick with it. You know, it does get better to a certain extent. You know, paralegal fields, I hear it's the most stressful field there is, but when you work with great attorneys, when you work with a great staff, it makes it worthwhile. So, you know, like Doug, I see Doug in Georgia, great team there. You know, you guys are always, every time I deal with you guys, great. If you can find something like that, you know, don't be discouraged. Keep working with that. You know, Doug will always support Georgia. I know Gary will always support me. You know, consistently learn every day something new. Be open-minded. I think if everybody learns something, we'll do justice for our clients along the way.
Georgia, you get your 2 minutes.
Wow, I'm going to piggyback off of Alonso. That's beautiful. I mean, I think that, you know, challenge yourself every day. You know, if you're looking for a challenge and you want something exciting, the paralegal field is the absolute best. The rewards far outweigh any of the negatives. You know, love to have some of y'all come join me here. You know, we're always looking for new talent. You know, if you love what you do, if you love your clients, don't be afraid. Hold that confidence, get out there, give it your all. Love what you do, listen, seek out that right fit for yourself, you know, because you'll find that place. And like Alonso said, you know, when you find it, that team is worth taking care of. You know, it's like any other relationship. You know, there's going to be ups and downs. There is going to be stress. You're going to find that attorney, though, that's going to come and sing, you know, the Barney song with you, you know, and then you're going to have your boss that's going, you know, buy you that extra roasted coconut coffee for the coffee machine, you know, which is outside of the scope. You know, everybody else is going to drink that, but Georgia's going to get the roasted coconut. So, but anyway, keep yourself, challenge yourself. Seek out what you want for your career and just give it your all. Listen and just love what you do. Have fun with it.
Well,
I agree.
I have to give a special thank you both. I know Ginger's going to pop in here, but while she's doing it, we need to give a special shout out to Seth Headley of newstudios.net. Newstudios.net. He is donating the recording of this because Zoom recording is at a lower quality than if you video a deposition. We have Seth video our depositions. The only reason I tell you that, practice pointer, far higher quality than a Zoom recording. Plus, a Zoom recording will pick up things that are off the record and cause all kinds of issues. But we wanted to thank Seth. And now I see the drums roll, a drum beat here, the excitement ratcheting up. And also, by the way, if you let us know, Georgia makes a good point. We're hiring, for instance, at our firm through Indeed.com and other location, remote paralegals, trial paralegals. Think about that, paralegals, if you decide you're relocating or you want to do something, different. If you're in Honolulu and you're in a different time zone, we're looking for that paralegal in Paris because the time difference would really help us. So keep that out there as you look around. Yeah. So Ginger, it's all yours, and Kyle, it's great to see you again, man.
Absolutely. And before we, we do have a little leprechaun in the building today, and he's wearing his green.
Hey.
This is Coconut who wanted to say hello. Before we make the announcement, I also wanted to share with you guys the contact information, so that way you can reach out to all of our incredible sponsors today, including Doug and Alonso and Georgia. I am going to email this to you because I realize it's a little bit small. So I'll email this to you so that way you can reach out to everybody. And then I also wanted to thank you guys so much for continually following our webinars, for watching them and sharing them with all of your friends. If you're interested, we have another free webinar tomorrow. Can you guys see this? It is, am I showing it? The next webinar, can you guys see that? Okay, let's see, I'll put that down real quick. It would help. Okay, now can you see it? All right. This is a webinar that we have tomorrow. Doug Beam is going to be back with us moderating a great webinar with Tom, who is also a great attorney out of Florida. So if you're interested, please sign up for this. Go to our website. We also have an incredible technology webinar next week that you do not want to miss. And we're going to have a lot of surprises with that one. But now, the moment we've all been waiting for, Kyle, I cannot wait for you to announce who the winner is of the special giveaway today. Someone is going to win 4 bags of this freshly roasted Peruvian coffee, and it's delicious. I think you're on mute, Kyle, but if you don't mind, let us know who the winner is.
Got it. Yeah, I see Ted's been treating you well, so that's good. Yeah, today's winner is Elena Lee with Rue and Zifra in Ormond Beach, Florida.
All right. Congratulations, Elena. That's a wonderful firm too. I think actually some members of their firm have been to our Connectionology seminars before, maybe the one that we did in Charleston, South Carolina. So congratulations, Elena. And both Kyle, Ted, and myself will be reaching out to you after this webinar.
Awesome.
And Kyle, thank you so much for doing this. It's always something that we look forward to. And again, thank you to Georgia and Alonso, Doug. I mean, reach out to them if you guys have any questions, especially after this webinar. I know this 90 minutes goes very fast. We hope to continue doing these webinars for you. And also, if anyone has any speaker recommendations, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to bring Georgia and Alonso back. We're going to do another round. So.
Hey, Ginger, I do see Leslie Cooper has a question. Leslie, if you'll just reach out to Georgia at our office, georgia@dougbeam.com, we'll get you an answer to your question. All right. And thank you, Kyle and Ginger and Georgia and Alonso. Now, get back to seeking justice.
There you go.
24/7. Seek justice.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.